This programme is powered by Hankook tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, Valero race and rally base layers, and Magla, create your own digital magazine. Hello and welcome to the GT and Prototype Challenge powered by Hankook, the championship for state-of-the-art prototypes and powerful GT racers. 30 cars entered the fifth round of the championship on the glorious Spa Francorchamps, the 7-kilometre Belgian circuit tinged by the colours of autumn, with some autumnal weather for the teams to contend with. We'll take a look at both one-hour races in this programme and bring you all the highlights. The Ardennes unique microclimate can result in sun in one part of the track, rain on another, or a sunny day followed by torrential downpours. And that's all part of the challenge for the teams, taping up a lot of the cooling ducts to make sure that everything is at the correct operating temperature, and critically to make sure that no water gets into the vital electronics. The blue ribbon category among the prototypes is LMP3, the current base level of Le Mans style prototype racing. These 420 horsepower Ligiers are absolutely typical of the brand. They've been run this year by Inter-Europol competition. The German and Polish team run by Kies Motorsport have been a force to be reckoned with throughout the season. Lead driver in this machine with its red mirrors, Kuba Schmakowski. The 26-year-old Pole has been racing for a dozen years now and might be heading for the title in the GT and Prototype Challenge LMP3 class. He's the championship leader by just 3 points. And to show how small that advantage is, there are 54 points on offer this weekend alone. And there are 2 more races to go in Spa and Assen. And do you remember this? A blow-up last time out in Assen with Christopher Dreyspring behind the wheel. That gave his rivals a massive chance to close the margin to Kuba Schmakowski, which they did. His Inter-Europol teammates for this weekend are Martin Hipper and a newcomer, 20-year-old Pontus Fredriksson from Stockholm in Sweden. He's doing the Scandinavian Porsche Carrera Cup for the last 2 seasons. He raced in Formula Renault 1.6 and 2 litres and now wants to head to LMP3 racing. After a brief test at Magny-Cours in the dry, this will be a whole new challenge for him in very different conditions at Spa Francorchamps.
I have raced here a few times before, like 2, 3, 4 times, but never in rain. So this qualification this morning gonna be fun. And first time in the rain with this car also, so big good challenge for me.
Second in LMP3, a real family affair. This Ligier GSP3 run by Racing Experience for Luxembourg brothers Gary and David Hauser. Racing teams often describe themselves as a family, but with brothers racing and sisters Melanie and Jennifer Marcotte, adding to mechanic Charles Molinier, it really is a very tightly knit unit. And the whole Hauser family is intimately involved. Gary and David Hauser started karting at the age of 5 and then worked their way up the junior single-seater ladder before arriving in LMP3. After a big shunt in pre-season testing at Zolder and a subsequent rehabilitation, Gary finally made his seasonal debut in the GT and Prototype Challenge last time out at Assen midway through the season. And it's almost like they're starting afresh with a clean slate.
It will be especially important to take points this weekend because we can't afford to make 0 points. And on the other hand, as we are second, we have to be in front of the guys that are first now, so we'll have to push as well. Today it's raining a lot, so I think it will be difficult to adapt because we haven't driven in the wet here. So let's see. The qualification only lasts 30 minutes, so the problem is that we'll have to drive both of the drivers. My brother and I will have to drive because nobody wants to start this afternoon driving the race without having done any lap on the wet. So for sure we won't have many laps on the rain. So we'll try to split the session in 2, and then we'll try to do the best we can with only 3 or 4 fast laps each.
Ginetta's G57 used to be run in the LMP3 class, but they've now been placed in their own G57 category, along with a number of CM prototypes who also have increased engine power. After the Ginetta LMP3 program was shelved last year, the British manufacturer decided to further develop the car by fitting the 6.3-litre Chevrolet V8, producing 575 horsepower, 155 more than a standard LMP3 car. So in the interests of fairness, you can see why the organisers decided to move them into their own class. This particular machine is run by Prime Racing for drivers Jean-Pierre Lecoeur and Jean-Marc Uberecken.
I think we are going to... I've personally never driven this kind of rain. I've raced a lot in Spa in the rain, even during the night, so I know more or less where to watch out. But it's still, the speeds are different on this car than on any other car we had before. So we have to be very careful on the areas where the rain is known to be heavier than other places.
Spa's always a big draw, and this weekend boasted no fewer than 17 new entries. Drivers who want to learn about the GT and Prototype Challenge powered by Hankook. The championship has only started this year and is already building a strong reputation. In the CN class, there are now 3 360 horsepower Praga R1 turbos, a fierce competitor for the 260 horsepower CN prototypes. And because it's got better aero and more engine power, the Praga also has an 80 kilo higher weight limit. One of the R1 turbos is a regular contender run by British team VR Motorsport for drivers Alistair Bolton and Luxembourg's Alan Berg, who won the previous race in Assen in the CN class, driving a Radical SR8. The other 2 R1 turbos are used by these German brothers, Max and Robert Aschoff, starting with number 387, and fast Czech Alice Jirasek with number 388. What do they expect from a wet Spa Francorchamps?
Of course, it's very hard to drive R1T on or any other car in Spa during the wet. You must be very, very careful about throttling and these things. So, yeah, that's very hard. But I enjoyed it. We had some little problem with warming of tires, but now I want to make some changes, and hopefully for the race it will be much better than before.
9 Porsches in the GT division are part of an 11-car invasion from the French Roscar series. The other 2 machines are in Super GT for cars with the most engine power. This is the Ferrari 458 GT3 of Alexis Berthet and Patrick Michelier. And the other is a Celine S7R car that has almost vanished from international racing. As recently as 2010, Labre Competition won the GT1 class at Le Mans in the 24 hours, but after that the Celines disappeared into private collections. This car driven here at Spa by Frenchman Guy Eliou. Qualifying was horrendously wet. It was more about survival than setting a fast time. For most of the session, the fastest lap was a ping-pong match between the G57 class normal V8 driver Sigmar Pfeiffer and the Renault RS01 driven by Stefan Lemairet and Sam de Jonge. It's one of the 2 RS01s in the LMP3 Championship, and in the end, the Equipe Verschure prepared Renault, which set the fastest time by 0.15 of a second, took pole in the LMP3 category. Young Belgian Sam de Jonge has raced in the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook before, but this is his debut in the Prototype and GT Championship.
Ik ben eigenlijk benaderd geweest door...
Renault Benelux asked if I wanted to get involved in a project. Their goal was to do a Belgian race for me with colleague Stefan Lemairet. I had to make sure this particular racing weekend would fit in my schedule, but I was really keen to drive the car and very happy to be here. They claim the bonus points, so nothing there for Gary and David Hauser, but neither for championship leader Kuba Schmitkowski. Just 3 points apart then, as they get to the grid for the first race of the weekend. It starts a lot less wet than qualifying, but that's only how it starts. That won't bother Stefan Lemairet, a man with 23 years of race experience and a very impressive resume here at Spa. He'll start the Renault RS01 from pole position. Starting from row 1, German Sigmar Pfeiffer in the G57 class. He starts that category from pole, missed out by the overall margin of just 0.15 with the Power Motorsports normal with a 4-litre V8. His first time at Spa, by the way. Also new at Spa, 9th overall, Australian Roman Crummins. He shares the Ligier JSP3 with Swedish driver Jocke Fried. Race 1 starts in very wet conditions. David Hauser in the family machine in 5th place as they run down to the first corner. There is the pole sitter Kuba Śmiechowski from 4th, moving up into 3rd place, ahead of the Ferrari 458 of Alexis Berthet. Oliver Freimut in the white and blue Renault just in front of us dropped down to 5th place, having started 3rd. Everybody being very cautious on the wet Spa Francorchamps circuit. David Hauser exiting Eau Rouge in 6th position. Needs to get by Śmiechowski to take the lead in the LMP3 Championship. Doesn't necessarily need to do it immediately. Battle for the lead rages between Stéphane Lemaire in the Renault and Sigmar Pfeiffer in the Norma. Lemaire grabbing the lead just before the pit stops.
We have a very good setup also for these conditions. So yes, it was a little bit difficult to overtake the Norma because it doesn't have any brake lights. So I didn't see. I was not able to see when he was braking. So I took time to pass him, but after I was able to make a gap. So I was so happy because it was a very, very, very difficult challenge without knowing the car on the wet.
David Hauser managed to close the gap to Kuba Śmiechowski, who'd lost 3rd to Oliver Freimut. And Hauser seems to have the upper hand in the rain, 0.4 of a second quicker on his fastest lap. Hauser's got 3 wins this year in the Racing Experience machine, but so too has Śmiechowski in the Inter-Europol competition car, which seemed to have the better setup in the midpoint of the season. If Hauser ends up in front of Śmiechowski in 4th place, and that'll be 3 extra points to tie up the title race. He's been chased by Jean-Pierre Lecoeur and Martin Hipper. The pit stops are under a full course yellow. Martin Hipper handing over to newcomer Pontus Fredriksson at Inter-Europol. Śmiechowski doing the 60-minute race on his own. There are no result seconds for either of our title rivals. David Hauser out of the car sends away brother Gary as the lollipop man. The battle continues. Sam de Jonge, though, makes no mistakes, winning the race overall and in LMP3, 26 seconds ahead of Sigmar Pfeiffer's Norma. Oliver Freimut takes 3rd place. 2nd in LMP3, Gary Hauser stays in front in LMP3. Kuba Śmiechowski is in 4th, tying up the points. Stéphane Lemaire congratulating Sam de Jonge on a good win. First for Lemaire in a Renault since 2011 in the Belgian Touring Car Series. Stéphane Lemaire wondering why he doesn't get a trophy. The Hauser brothers did what they needed to do, tying up the championship with Kuba Śmiechowski of Poland. Stéphane Lemaire set the fastest time in the G57 class, faster than Spa newcomer Sigmar Pfeiffer, but he won the G57 category, Jean-Pierre Lecoeur and Jean-Marc Ubereken taking 2nd place. Alex Jurasek kept the CN lead in the Praga R1 Turbo, his fastest lap time quicker even than LMP3. 2nd place set for Alistair Bolton until he misjudged this passing opportunity in Fania, and that was the yellow flag that triggered the pit stops. Father and son Jerry and Miles Holford are 3rd behind Robert and Max Ashoff, but Alex Jurasek wins on his debut in the GT and Prototype Challenge.
I don't remember in last 10 years so hard race like this one because it's cold, it's very, very hard to warm tires, and the track is incredibly hard in the wet, so good to be here.
Chairman Daniel Schligden joins them on the podium as the SR3 class winner with his normally aspirated Praga R1. Championship leader Wim Juris didn't finish because of a broken throttle. Thomas Winkler was flying in the GT class in his Porsche, but on the first lap the German spun on cold tyres. Despite that, he managed to retake the lead, only to lose it again when his wipers stopped working, and it was like driving in the fog. He'd end up in 6th position. Georges Canard won the GT race, ahead of Régis Regio de Seb, both of them in Porsches. A Duff battery dropped Barry Van Elk out of qualifying, so had to start to the back of the field in the awful weathers, but he loves the rain, slicing through the field, passing the Super GT Ferrari 458 of Patrick Michelier and Alex Berthet to take the lead. Incidentally, they won't do race 2 after mechanical problems, but they finished race 1 in 2nd ahead of Mercedes SLS GT3 driver Dan Meyer. I was able to pass a lot of cars. It's been a while since I've done that, said Barry Van Elk. Conditions were very tricky in the beginning because I missed out on qualifying, so I had brand new rain tyres on at the start and they were very slippery on the opening lap. But after a while they gained grip and I was able to make my way forward. Been a fun race. Round 5 of the GT and Prototype Challenge powered by Hankook continues at Spa Francorchamps, and whisper it, the sun has got his hat on for race 2. Stay with us. This programme is powered by Hankook Tyres. Autosportinsurance.com. Valero, race and rally base layers. And Magla, create your own digital magazine. Round 5 of the GT and Prototype Challenge powered by Hankook at Spa Francorchamps in Belgium. And the sun is out on Sunday after a wet race 1, which turned out to be a game changer in LMP3. Inter Europol driver Kuba Śmigłowski hasn't lost the lead, but he's now tied with racing experienced brothers Gary and David Hauser. Overall, and LMP3 race winners were Stefan Lemaire and Sam de Jonge with the Equipe Verschure Renault RS01. The Cup version has 550 horsepower and weighs 1,145 kilos, and it was definitely a match for Sigmar Pfeiffer. The biggest surprise here at Spa, Saturday's race was his first at the circuit, and he was just half a second slower than Lemaire with his 500 horsepower V8 powered Norma M20 FC weighing only 860 kilos. Stefan Lemaire will again start in the Renault, whose power advantage might be decisive in the dry. Oliver Framework finished third overall, second in LMP3. He starts third, ahead of Kuba Śmigłowski, the LMP3 Championship joint leader. CN pole sitter Ales Jirasek, the Praga factory team driver, won race 1 in the R1 Turbo. In 6th place, David Hauser with the Ligier JSP3 right behind his title rival. A beautiful day at Spa Francorchamps. What a place, what weather to go racing in. David Hauser lining up behind Kuba Śmigłowski, they're 6th and 4th. Stefan Lemaire and Sigmar Pfeiffer leading the field. Lemaire in the closed Renault, Pfeiffer in the open Norma. 5th place, Ales Jirasek in the blue and gold Praga R1 Turbo, the CN pole sitter. GT pole for Thomas Winkler in his Porsche, he'll start 11th. And the game is on immediately. David Hauser having a little look down the inside of Kuba Śmigłowski. On his right, Oliver Framework in the blue and white Renault RS01. And it is Sigmar Pfeiffer who takes the lead. Oliver Framework spinning behind us as we ride with Kuba Śmigłowski in 3rd place. Framework losing it at La Source. Rejoins at the back of the field. Looks like no damage done. Down into Eau Rouge for the first time. Being very cautious with the tyres. And then on the long uphill Kemmel Straight. So can the Norma escape? No, the Renault is right with it. Kuba Śmigłowski 3rd, David Hauser 4th. White Mercedes Dan Meyer leads in Super GT. Big lock up behind. That is the GT 2nd place car of Régis Régeau de Seb. As they sweep down through Piff Power, Sigmar Pfeiffer under real pressure from Stefan Lemaire. Lemaire leading the LMP3 class despite not being in an LMP3 car. And there is your GT leader, and that is Thomas Winkler in the red and white Porsche, Régis Régeau de Seb in 2nd, Wim Juris leading in SR3, ahead of Jerry Holford's Wolf. Huge field sweeping through here and way down towards the back, Barry van Elk. Full course yellow is out, and that's before the leaders have even completed a lap. On the exit of Bruxelles on the right, Georges Canard has hit the tyre barriers. Seems he was out of the car okay. Well, his car comes back in, and under full course yellow, maximum of 80 kilometres an hour. They turn green immediately. David Hauser right behind Kuba Śmigłowski as they go green. Looks like he's got a bit of a jump on Śmigłowski. They're heading up towards Blanchimont, one of the fastest parts of the circuit. Looks like Śmigłowski has just got enough to hang on to 3rd. Sigmar Pfeiffer also just in front of Stefan Lemaire as they get to the bus stop. That's the 1-2. Śmigłowski and David Hauser 3-4. Dan Meyer made a great restart up to 5th in the Mercedes. Oh, huge lock up there from Max Aschoff. And that's going to cost him ground. 2nd in CN behind Ales Jirasek in the other Praga R1 Turbo. Barry van Elk has really steamed up through the field. 21st to 13th. And the recovering Oliver Framework ahead of the Celine of Gielio. Championship organiser Dick Van Elk in one of those 2 Praga R1s. Midway through the race, Porsche driver Régis Régeau de Seb out with brake problems that caused massive flat spot on the tyres. He was 2nd in GT before the stops. And this now leaves the battle for 2nd between Jean-Jacques Legard and Marc Peraldi. The white Cayman of Peraldi goes through at the bus stop. Jean-Pierre Levasseur wasn't paying attention in the yellow. He's now down to 6th position. Alfred Winkler in 5th. 2nd in SR3, the Praga of Dick Van Elk ahead of the similar car of Daniel Schligden. Sigmar Pfeiffer leading from Stefan Lemere, Kuba Schmiekowski and David Hauser. The white Super GT Mercedes of Dan Meyer being harassed by Alice Yezarik in the Praga R1 Turbo, who leads in CN. Behind him, black car, Jean-Pierre Leclerc ahead of Martin Hipper, Max Aschoff, Alan Berg going off there in his R1. Behind Meyer and Yezarik, Martin Hipper moves up to 7th overall ahead of Jean-Pierre Leclerc, the G57 class leader. In the GT class, Thomas Winkler ahead of LMP3 Roman Krummer and Oliver Freimut. This is 12th, 13th and 14th place battle. Little further back, Alfred Winkler, the red and white car, up 2 spots to 4th in GT, and Jean-Pierre Levasseur moves on the inside of Laurent Cochard in the blue and white car, up to 5th in the class. Heading to the pit stops, Kuba Schmiekowski in 2nd ahead of David Hauser, which would be a 5-point advantage. And being on the podium in race 1, Gary and David Hauser must spend 5 seconds longer. Their mandatory 60-second stop plus those result seconds. And that's going to make Gary Hauser's job even tougher. But was David happy with his first stint?
Yeah, it went pretty well. It was difficult to get into the rhythm because we had already 2 formation laps and then the full course yellow just after the start. After that it went pretty well. I think I did the same lap times than Jakub, so we were still quite close, but yeah, he drives the whole race, so he's in the rhythm for the rest of the race. Now we change the driver. I know my brother is fast, so let's see if he can catch him or not.
After the stop, Schmiekowski has the lead as a result of 0 success seconds. 2nd, the Hausers with 5. 3rd, Sam de Jonge in for Stefan Lemere with 10. And Sigmar Pfeiffer down to 4th because of 20 seconds of penalties. Kuba Schmiekowski in the 2nd stint in the car, and he's definitely found the rhythm, keeping his tyres alive. Meanwhile, battle for 2nd. Gary Hauser in a little deep into the bus stop. And suddenly, Sigmar Pfeiffer, who's got by Sam de Jonge's Renault, is all over him. Down the inside goes the Norma. Hauser fights back on the exit of the first corner, the hairpin, as they sweep down the hill towards Eau Rouge. GT cars in front add extra spice for Sigmar Pfeiffer. He can't deploy the aerodynamic grip of the Norma. And here comes Hauser, but right in front, the GT cars fan out. There's nowhere to go through. Sigmar Pfeiffer finds himself held up, and so too does Gary Hauser. Sam de Jonge reaps the rewards. He closes in, jumps Hauser in traffic, up to 2nd in LMP3. Bad news for the Hausers, losing further points to Kuba Schmiekowski. That's going to open up the championship margin. A chance then perhaps to get by Sam de Jonge towards the end of the lap at the bus stop. The Renault has plenty of power. There is the 2nd place man, Sigmar Pfeiffer. The battle for 3rd. Gary Hauser all over the back of Sam de Jonge. De Jonge and Lemere, the race 1 winners. Hauser's in 3rd position, down into Eau Rouge, and there's a Praga in the way. And that really holds up Gary Hauser. Has to get on the curbs, and there's trouble. The barriers are there. And he just avoids a major impact. Those tyres will be destroyed. He drops for 4th place to the disappointment of brother David. Schmiekowski heading towards victory until the final couple of laps when he's caught by Sigmar Pfeiffer in the Norma. He lunges through at the bus stop to take the lead. 2 laps from home, but Schmiekowski still leading in LMP3. Final result with the class winners in yellow. Sigmar Pfeiffer winning outright. Kuba Schmiekowski, the LMP3 victor, ahead of Stefan Lemere and Sam de Jonge. And with David and Gary Hauser 4th in LMP3, that's a 13-point deficit. Alice Jurasic again winning in CN. Super GT going to Dan Meyer. Thomas Winkler winning in the GT category. Wim Juris on top in SR3. A huge field of cars, the awesome Spa Francorchamps, stunning sunny autumnal weather. What more could you want? Well, if you're Sigmar Pfeiffer, victory goes down nicely.
In der vorletzten Runde
in the last couple of laps, I managed to catch up with the leading LMP3 car. Got past him on the brakes, managed to hang on and control it in the final lap, but I have to say it was a lot harder than I expected it might be. Sigmar Pfeiffer has become the champion in the Sports Car Challenge. He not only wins overall in Race 2 and in G57, beating championship regulars Jean-Pierre Leclerc and Jean-Marc Houbreken again. Last time out at Spa they won Race 2 in the dry, but here they finish in 6th place overall. Nevertheless, the Ginetta drivers joined Sigmar Pfeiffer on the podium, first and second in their category. Kubish Mikovsky claimed a 4th win of the season in LMP3 in the Inter-Europol machine. Sam de Jonge and Stefan Lemaitre were second in the Renault, ahead of Martin Hipper and Pontus Fredriksson.
I didn't really know where I was. My engineer told me I was in 1st place, so I tried to manage, but the CN car was just faster. I couldn't keep him behind me. And with the traffic, it was difficult to pass sometimes. I lost some time, then he lost some time, so I think it was quite okay, but he was just quicker at the end of the day.
A broken exhaust manifold meant Alan Berg and Alistair Bolton again failed to finish in CN, so father and son Jerry and Miles Hulford again took 3rd in the Wolf GB08. Alex and Max Ashoff battled with Super GT winner Dan Meyer for most of the race, but ahead of them, their Prague teammate Alice Jezarek claimed a Race 2 win to add to his Race 1 victory.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I really didn't expect that we will be competitive if you compare it LMP3 cars, and we did, so I'm really happy for that, because we were overall P5 and we won twice in class, so I must be really happy, and I'm proud for the team that we built a car like this, and I think we really enjoyed it.
Starting from the back after his qualifying problems, Race 1 Super GT winner Barry Van Elk sliced through the field, only to drop out with overheating brakes on the Mosler. Celine 7R driver Guy Eliou moved up to 2nd in Super GT and hung on till the end. Dan Meyer was already way ahead in 5th place overall in the first couple of laps, battling with the LMP3 cars when he could, on his way to Race 2 victory.
Ik heb erg genoten van deze wedstrijd, omdat het fantastisch mooi weer is.
Really enjoyed myself. As far as I'm concerned, Spa is one of the greatest racetracks on the planet, and to win in sunny conditions with a great car like the Mercedes, it's a real treat. Looking forward to Assen. We're going to try and repeat this result. Looking at the championship standings, we're in a handy lead, so hopefully we'll become champions. That would be great, and that's the main target. Thomas Winkler led the GT race from start to finish. Jean-Jacques Legard took 2nd ahead of Laurent Cochard and Eric Bazonnet, finishing on the podium in 3rd. Dick Van Elk 2nd in SR3, battling with Daniel Schligden in 3rd. But on the Exeter bus stop, Dick Van Elk spun. Schligden moving up to a 2nd he wouldn't lose. 1st place in SR3 in an SR3, Wim Juris taking a Race 2 victory and the championship lead after his Race 1 retirement with throttle problems. Yesterday, disappointment with that broken throttle pedal. Today, everything went according to plan. Won the race. Competition with the Porsches was great. Great to see such a huge number of cars here. Round 6 will be at the TT Circuit of Assen, the final encounter for the GT and Prototype Challenge powered by Hankook in its opening year. And we'll see you there. Bye for now. This program is powered by Hankook Tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, Valero Race and Rally Base Layers, and Magla. Create your own digital magazine.